a result of the pandemic. So for our priority schools, we're really thinking about how to get back on track and regain some of that traction that we lost during this season of remote learning. And then for cohort schools, definitely making up for the lost time that we've had and doubling up our efforts to focus on financial aid and post-secondary planning this year, so that when we get to senior year, our students are ready. All right, Beth.
Good morning, everyone. I've had some cold brew coffee, so I think I can handle a few slides this morning. These are just some simple reminders. You guys are all pros at all of this, but for Zoom housekeeping, I just wanted to remind you to please stay muted during the main conversations that we're having this morning. And then when you're in your breakout sessions, of course, you can unmute and you can share your video if you'd like. We are recording this. We will not record your breakout sessions. We want you to have honest, confidential conversations, and so we respect that. So that portion will not be recorded. We'll just be recording the subject matter content that we covered this morning around financial aid and whatnot. You can take breaks at your own time. We don't have them built in. You will have time also during the team breakout time to take a break and eat lunch as well. And then I'm going to, on the next slide, talk about renaming yourselves, and then I'll go over clock hour information. So while you're all here and attentive this morning, I'd like to ask you all to rename yourselves. This will help us when we do breakout team time sessions. And so if you don't know how to rename yourself, you go to the participant list at the bottom of your screen and you click on it, and then you should be able to find yourself among the Brady Bunch tiles, and then hover over the picture and you'll see the 3 dots. If you right click on that, you should be able to scroll down and rename yourself. We'd like you to follow this sort of convention that we have laid out here. So if you're a priority school, you would put P hyphen your school name followed by your first name. And cohort would be the letter C hyphen school and then your name. So we'll give everybody 1 minute or so to get that done. If you have questions, you can type it in the chat. But we appreciate you taking the time to rename yourself. That way we can make sure that we get you in the right rooms later today. All right. And then on the next slide, I can just review the clock hour procedure. So for clock hours, if you wanted clock hours, you really had to pre-enroll following this link that's at the bottom, this registration link. If you did not see that email last week and are freaking out right now because you really want these clock hours, you should probably try to register today, right now. Because this is a virtual event, your attendance is verified through Zoom logs. So I will be sending in all of the verification information to ESC 113, who is our clock hour provider. I'll send that after the event. So if you've registered, I would give it about a week or so for them to process. This session is worth 4.5 hours. So I think that covers it. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. So there's this weird thing that happens about year 5 in Gear Up. And it definitely feels like year 5. We have so many changes this year. So I just wanted to take a minute to recognize that. So in Aberdeen, we have a new principal. In Bellingham, we have a new principal, and I think we're getting a new graduation specialist soon. In Davenport, Heather was hired as a counselor, and so we have a new coordinator there. Alicia, welcome. East Valley, darn it, Dave got another job in East Valley. Congratulations. And we'll have a new replacement coordinator there soon. In Eastmont, Nicole was hired in Wenatchee for a teaching position. And so we'll be getting a replacement there soon. And it goes on. In Federal Way, Stephanie had a baby girl, and we have new admin leadership there. Kettle Falls, we have a new principal there. Welcome, Keith. And Brittany just told us yesterday I think she got a teaching job, and so she'll be leaving, and we'll be getting a new coordinator there. And Nacelle, Rachel moved on, and so welcome to Andrea. North Beach, Aisha moved on, so welcome to Carrie. And Shadle Park, welcome Chris Dunn, our new admin there. And in Vancouver, we're wishing Natalie a lot of luck and good wishes as she moves forward in her goal to also be a teacher. So I suppose this is what happens when we hire amazing folks, because your districts want to scoop you up and keep you forever. So we really do wish you all well, but also recognize that with this many new folks, especially heading into year 5 and making up for this lost time, that we really want to make sure we're supporting all of you. And what I want to say about that is this is a very generous, knowledgeable group. And so please know you are never alone if you're the new person in the room today. That you have a lot of expertise to draw from, and networking is really vital to our success. So we hope that you will feel welcomed and supported, and please know that we are all available to you anytime you need some help. I also want to congratulate, I didn't put Lisa's baby. Lisa and Luke had a baby, and I think the baby is here today somewhere in the pictures. And I hope I didn't forget anyone. So again, welcome, and we're happy that you're all here today. Thanks. I'll turn it over to Annie now.
Awesome, thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's so nice to be back with you today. The weather in Olympia is like colder than it has been, so it really does feel like the start of a new school year. Really excited to talk to you about focus this morning. Those of you, we reached out about the opportunity to have focus come to your school. So if you did say yes to a focus experience at your school, please keep your eye on your email. We are coordinating about, I think 17 different focus visits across the state. So it's really important that if you get an email from me or Lindsay, that you're responding as quickly as you can. We know that there's communication that needs to happen within your school on your end of things. So, it doesn't need to be right away, but just please make sure that you're keeping lanes of
Okay. I see that we have a technical assistance problem. If you will just sit tight for 1 second. we will reconnect with Annie. Just 1 second.
Oh no, sorry guys, I somehow got kicked off the call. Beth, is Marcy still on?
She's coming right back in.
Oh, okay.
It looked like both her and you froze at the same time for some reason. It was strange.
Yeah,
A couple other people got kicked out too, so it's not just you guys.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Weird.
All right, I'm back.
Just keeping everybody
On
alert and on your toes. That was a test. That was a test to see if everyone was alert and paying attention.
Yeah, I will just say I never have internet issues, and I'm getting my internet is unstable messages right now. So not really sure what's happening.
Mine too.
So, all right, I'm gonna take that off. Okay, so
Okay.
I got cut off. I'm not really sure where I was. Annie, if you want to take back over and finish the focus conversation.
Yeah. Yep, we were on focus, I think.
I believe we are on slide 10.
Oh, is it not showing?
No.
Okay. All right. Got it. There we go.
Wi-Fi is on summer vacation. I agree. Aren't we all?
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry about that, everyone. Long story short, Lindsay is going to be reaching out to you in the next few weeks and is going to give you, I think it'll be a survey of sorts that kind of says like, here are some possible date opportunities and options. What do you need from us to make this happen? And then we will roll out planning from there. So that's focus. All right, and then the next thing I'm really excited to talk about, as most of you know, and probably some of you don't because you're either new here or we talked about this at a meeting maybe when you weren't present. Starting in 2020, we developed a 7th year advisory committee. And so what that looked like for us was drawing a whole bunch of education professionals from across the state to come together and really help us look at our 7th year transition period with a specific focus on anti-racism and making sure that we're considering all sorts of barriers to students beyond just low income barriers. So that committee has been going great. It's been an awesome opportunity for us to learn from other partners and community-based organizations in the state. It's been really awesome. But what we have recognized is that we are definitely missing student voice. And so we are working right now to develop a 7th year student advisory committee. And we want to make sure that we have some Gear Up students on that 7th year advisory committee as well. So the majority of those students will be students that have participated in Gear Up or Gear Up like activities, but are now in college because again, they're kind of informing us about that transition in the first year after high school graduation. But we want to make sure that we have some current juniors and seniors on that board as well, because they bring some important perspective to that conversation as well. So what this will look like, it's going to be required monthly meetings, 2 hours max. Their students are going to get a stipend for monthly participation. We want to make sure that we're paying them for their expertise. They do not need to be college going, nor do they need to be students who are your typical leadership students or class presidents or anything like that. We're really looking for diverse representation from our Gear Up population. So we include that diversity to be things like students who don't plan to go to college or who want to go to military or career or things like that. It's a great opportunity for these students to build community and have an opportunity to be mentored, as well as to build their resume. So all of this to say, we are going to be reaching out probably early October with an ask for you to think about who these Gear Up students might be and if you have someone that would be interested in the opportunity. So again, eyes on the email, I guess. Alrighty, and then text campaign stuff. So it's a really important year for the text campaign for a few reasons. First and foremost, last year we attempted to sign up our priority juniors via a quick video snip from me, and it didn't really go all that well, which is not super surprising, right? Because students, first of all, it was done in the fall. Students were getting pulled in a whole bunch of different directions and just doing their best to keep up. So it is not a surprise to us that our junior sign-up rates were not that great last year. But with that being said, we really want to make sure that we get those now seniors signed up for the text campaign so that we can stay connected to them. It's also an important year for the text campaign because our cohort students are now juniors. So we are going to have a hopeful huge junior sign up this year with our cohort schools. So what does this all mean? So for priority schools, it means that we need your help getting juniors and seniors signed up for the text campaign. Marketing materials will be provided for you, and I will do as I did in the 2019 year. We'll come around this fall and travel to your school to get students signed up. What this means for cohort schools is that you have a whole lot of junior students to get signed up, and we're going to help you with that. So I will make sure that you have the marketing materials that you need. And then I am going to host a webinar for your school. I can distribute that, or I can schedule time with you specifically. So it can be really focused towards your school and students have opportunity for question and answer at the end. Most importantly, we're really counting on you all to promote and make sure that our students are signed up. This has been a great way to keep in touch with our students after their senior year. It's been a great way to pump out things like the senior exit survey and make sure that students really have a resource for any kind of college and career going information that they need. So just a heads up there that this year, the text campaign is going to be a huge priority of ours. All right, and then one more thing I think before we dive into the senior exit survey data. It's exciting time in Washington State because most of our institutions are open again for in-person campus visits, and they're really excited to have you, as you can imagine. So a lot of these schools are also providing virtual options, which is great because I think we've all seen the benefit in being able to connect students and families to campuses while they're at home. We are also going to provide a small variety of virtual campus visits, but these are mainly going to be focused on institutions that either don't have in-person campus visits or don't have virtual visits that are accessible. So because we're excited for you to get back onto campuses with your students as well, I was able to create just a quick campus visit contact list, and it essentially just lets you know who you can contact at the institution to schedule a visit, what the general link is for the visitation page, and then if they have an in-person visit or if they have a virtual visit or both. So please utilize that contact list, and we're excited for you to get back to campus with your students. And then just a few quick resources here around virtual visits. Again, I think folks have really recognized the benefit of virtual visits. So there are plenty of resources out there for you to connect your students virtually to campuses if that's what you're looking for. And of course, just a plug for the bulletin here. If you're looking for the most up-to-date information and want to make sure your students and yourself are connected to these opportunities, make sure that you're looking at that bulletin weekly. All right. Okay, so let's talk senior exit surveys. Awesome, I'm glad you guys like that spreadsheet. You're so welcome. It was pretty easy to put together. So let me know if there's anything else that would be helpful to be added to it, and I'm happy to do that. All right, so senior exit surveys. We had 172 Gear Up students respond, which is really awesome. Just so you know, our Gear Up seniors last year, there were about 315. So this may, just something to keep in mind, I guess. It might not be representative of all Gear Up students, but we do feel pretty good about this survey responses and what we've learned from this opportunity. So 96.5 reported they're graduating, which is really exciting. 53% of these respondents indicated they have a plan for post-secondary training or education. Awesome. And 56% of the respondents completed a FAFSA or a WASPA. So nice work to you all. All right, and I'm just gonna give us a second here to pause on this slide. This is the post-high school plans for the students who completed the survey. So we basically just asked them, what are your plans after high school? It's important to note here, I don't think on any of the other slides we have this issue, but in the other category, oftentimes students selected other and then filled in one of the options available to them. So just a survey glitch, I guess, but pretty normal. So I'm going to give you just a second to look at this information and digest it. Awesome. So just a reminder, as we go through the next few slides, please feel free to utilize the chat function. It's a really good way for us. I know we have multiple eyes on the chat, so we can respond back and forth, or if anyone wants to flag a comment and speak up about it, that is great too. All right. So when we asked students if they weren't attending college, why they weren't attending college, these are the responses we got. We see some really great opportunities here in how we kind of address these things and approach our work. So as you can see, there are large numbers of students who say they can't afford it or they need to have an income, some financial based reason for not going to college. We're interested in knowing, how do we convince students that there's money for them to go to school, and often money that will help with costs outside of just tuition alone. We're really lucky in the state of Washington because we have the best financial aid in the country. So students have an opportunity here that is unlike a lot of students in the nation. I'm not sure that we tell them this. So just something to think about as we're talking about financial aid and the opportunities that are present. We also wanted to talk about the I don't like school or the academic preparation concern, and how we help students understand the difference between what high school looks like and what post-secondary education can look like, and really talking about the fact that they're pursuing a degree or a program after high school that should be really in tune to what their interests are. So they're really finding enjoyment in the classroom or in the education that they're pursuing. And then, of course, how we better support students in preparing for this post-secondary level education. So I thought we could take a minute, because I think we have time to do this, to just talk about how we might be able to shift the perspective of our students. So again, if you want to utilize the chat, that's great. If you want to unmute yourself, I think that's totally appropriate as well. So I will stop there and see if you guys have any feedback for us around those things. Yes, Rosalie, students were able to write in the reason for other, and just like the other, just like the category in the section above, they were, a lot of the time it was either one of these things or one of these things just written or framed in a different way, but it was usually a financial focus. I don't like school, or I'm not academically prepared, something like that. But it was interesting in all cases that there was an other opportunity. They were never things outside of the options presented. Good question.
More than like a suggestion, one thing that I think would be helpful is, I feel like with my students, there's been like, and just maybe because of like political things, I don't know, but like with like the FAFSA, I feel like it's really hard to get families on board to give information. And then it's like, go ahead and try to do it just on their own, but one, I think it like puts them as like kind of like, I don't know, like it didn't give them the best opportunity or the best like financial aid back. And in even some cases, it just kept saying error. And so I just feel like it seems to have gotten really hard to get like parents on board for the FAFSA. And so I don't know if we could like, or, I don't want to should on you, but I don't know if there could be some kind of like handout that's just, that's kind of, that you do such a good job at making flyers and things, just something that would be easy to remind them, because I feel like me just telling them it's secure and things like that. Like,
yeah.
to be enough. I don't know. Just
Right. Totally. Thanks for that, Diva. I appreciate that. And, that is something that we consistently hear about, families not feeling comfortable releasing their financial aid information. And I think a few things can be said about that. First, I think another thing that's really interesting about this graph is you see that my family doesn't want me to go to college is the smallest response rate here. And I think what that reminds us is that our families do have aspirations for these students, right? And I think a lot of the time the FAFSA, the barriers around FAFSA is yes, that it's complicated. Yes, that it like promotes those error messages, but also that I think families are unaware what they're eligible for, what they qualify for, and also the fact that if students aren't completing a financial aid application, oftentimes they're not eligible for scholarships either. So I think yes, more information is always good. And we need to be having the same conversations with our families that we're having with our students around Washington has the best financial aid opportunities in the nation. You need to fill out a financial aid application to be eligible for scholarships and things like that. I also, I feel like I'm constantly plugging Christina Winstead, but just a reminder that if you are running into error messages or students are feeling, burdened by the process, we have experts here who know how to do this, who have handled the most sticky, complicated financial aid situations, and they're more than happy to help. So please reach out to myself or Christina if you are running into those error messages or just barriers you don't know how to overcome. It really is our job to do that, and we're happy to help.
I would also say that Beth is going to talk about the two trifolds we have in progress for financial aid a little bit later. So that addresses Diva, your request also. Yeah, so I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, and I see some comments in the chat about, I can't afford it is a pretty prevalent mindset. I agree. We all think and we know that college is expensive, but again, it's reminding students, especially these Gear Up eligible students, right? We know they're eligible for this financial aid. So reminding them and talking often about the fact that Washington State has the best financial aid in the country. I mean, that should just be our tagline right there. What does that mean? It means that you have more financial opportunity in the state of Washington than other students have across the nation. And that's a huge reminder to give students.
What, can I chime in? One other reminder is that we do have a financial aid calculator that's Washington State specific, where families can go in and get an estimate of what aid they might be able to receive. And so that is an easy way to help debunk some early sentiments about inaffordability. And it's much better than the FAFSA forecaster was, because this is Washington State specific and looks at the Washington College grant and more. So I can put that link in the chat, but I will often be reminding you of that resource this year.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. That's a great reminder. And Christina did just drop that in the chat. I saw another comment about, students and families not even knowing about financial aid. I think that's true as well. We had, I believe it was 10% of students say they didn't know how to complete a financial aid application or what that even was. So again, just a reminder that we need to be having these conversations, not just once, but consistently throughout the school year. So FAFSA opens October 1, but students can complete that application, either financial aid application all year. Okay. So
I just had a question.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the last slide real quick? Yeah, so I think you might have commented on this, but I want to clarify. So for the other, did students write in comments and then those comments got broken up into different categories?
So we didn't break them up into different categories. So if it says other here, they haven't been broken down. We utilize Alchemer, which is a survey platform, and it's really hard to mess with their tables once the responses come in, but we can see what that other category was. So in every question on the survey, I think the funny thing about it is students really want to tell you what's going on. So if they select other, they really just had a more long-winded response to one of these things, or sometimes it wasn't even a long-winded response. Sometimes they said other and then they would just type like, I can't afford it. So it was very uncommon for the other category for a comment within that to be something that wasn't already an option.
So okay, I was gonna say, because then the task becomes getting students to be able to articulate and really unpack why but that's not the issue. The issue is they actually had more to say about it.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, I think that's always a part of it, right? Like there's always unpacking to do around this financial stuff, especially when our families are involved and then the complicated relationship of that comes to play. So we know it's more complicated than just these responses that they're selecting, but I think this is a good first start down. What are students' kind of initial gut reaction to why they aren't completing or attending?
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great comment. Okay, so if students haven't completed a financial aid application, here is where they're telling us why they haven't completed an application. So students were able to select as many responses as they wanted. What we're curious about is how do we get to the 11% of students who say they don't need it and the 11% of students who don't think they would qualify, right? Because again, this is a survey of Gear Up eligible students. And then there's that 2% of parents that are saying they wouldn't, telling their student they wouldn't qualify for aid. So this is, again, just kind of getting back to the point that this is a missed opportunity for us because we know the money is out there. Washington students left $50 million on the table in federal financial aid in 2019. That's a huge number. And, that number easily, these students could all have financial aid for that number, right? And then some. So just reiterating the fact that we really need to talk to students about what it means to be financial aid eligible and just the opportunities that are there. And then for the 9.4% of students who say they didn't understand the financial aid process, how are we having that conversation early and often? And how are we checking in with students who say that they don't need to complete it or their parents don't think they'll qualify or things like that? One lesson we have definitely learned in the last 2 years is that one-on-one outreach to students and to their families makes a really big difference. So if you don't have a relationship with families, they're less likely to respond to your general invites to family events, especially financial aid, right? Because there's a different level of trust that's kind of needed for those conversations. So how are we making time to engage one-on-one with more families? Especially those who might be hesitant or resistant, but that their child might have aspirations for college. And then just a reminder to personalize that approach. Again, we're building relationships, building trust with these students and their families. Inchelium, Roselia, and Pateros are rock stars when it comes to this work. So just a shout out to those schools for really building those relationships and that trust and working diligently on that one-on-one outreach. All right. And then the last slide, and then we'll take a moment to pause because I think we do have plenty of time to do that. So we asked students what type of support would be helpful in your college and career planning. It's no surprise, right, that the highest response here is support with financial aid and scholarship applications. So I would say this is troubling in the sense that we know that students are thinking they're not eligible and not qualifying, and also that we know that you need to apply for financial aid to be eligible for a lot of scholarships. But also, I think most importantly, this really showcases the opportunity that we have with students to better educate them on the financial aid process and really to support them. We know that this survey tells us that this is a desire of theirs. So clearly there's an interest in scholarships. Are we offering enough information about this? It is a daunting task. Last fall, I created a scholarship kind of video about how to apply for scholarships. I think it's a great video to revisit maybe this fall. Get Schooled also has a free scholarship application review for students. So again, if you don't know maybe how to best support your students, please reach out to us because we know where a lot of great resources live. And again, the bulletin, another plug for the bulletin, so many awesome resources there. so many scholarship listings in that bulletin. And then just a reflective question as well. How do your year 5 plans align with these interests and identify needs? So remember, this is what your Gear Up students said they want. And while these are priority school responses, we know that cohort students have similar concerns. So how are we better supporting them in these areas? The class of 2021 experienced school and transition challenges in ways we obviously couldn't have ever imagined. And the impact of remote learning will be with us for a long time. So not just this year, not just next year. So how are we supporting students and families, and you know, what they need from us may be different than what we've been providing in the past. So we really want to make sure that we're continuing to be responsive to their needs and willing to evolve our programming to meet their needs. It just probably isn't going to work to keep doing the same things that we have always done. So yeah, I think I will pause there for a second. Again, I'm happy to see you all are utilizing the chat box, but also feel free to unmute yourself and chime in if you wish. Marcy, do you have anything to add?
I think you did a great job. And so I would just say, you know, while the senior exit survey was, you know, priority school students where we had seniors last year, I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned by the cohort schools as well, which is why we shared it with everyone today. So this year is really pivotal, right? We want to make sure we're talking about financial aid often. And so again, that's why we're making it such a big part of our topics today. And while Annie was talking, my dog ate a book.
He's ready to get back to school, Marcy.
Not once did I ever use that as an excuse in school, but today my dog ate a book. It was a good book. I'm a little sad.
I guess before we go on to the next slide, I just want to reiterate, please reach out if you have questions or need help. If you feel like you have a really specific issue or barrier or problem around the financial aid process or talking to students about these things, I promise you we have a resource for it, or many people have already asked. So I know these problems do feel intimate and very specific, but I think that's less so than we really know or imagine. So please reach out if you need support.
Also, I just saw Rosalie's comment about student loans. So we have an incredible new resource in WASAC. Stephanie San Pedro is a student loan advocate that works with us now. Yes, that's him. And we're going to have her probably do some training. I think October maybe is when we're going to do that. So we will have more information about student loans available because we have an incredible internal resource, and we have some great videos and such available as resources. So we will have more conversations about loans. So thanks for bringing up that topic, Rosalie. All right, I'm going to switch slides, and thank you, Annie, for all of that. And thank you everyone for your comments. I'm going to turn it over to Christina and Beth now to really focus on financial aid.
Hello. So my name's Christina Winstead. I wish I had a dog at home that was eating books. I have one that's snoring under my feet. So if you hear snoring, that one's mine. I've got a big old basset hound under me. For those of you who know me, you know how much I love financial aid. For those who are new to the program, welcome. I'm excited to work with you. My name is Christina Winstead, and I love financial aid. That's just one of the things I love doing, is helping students figure out how they're going to pay for college. I'm a big dork about it. And the reason I'm a big dork about it is because a financial aid officer sat down with me after I declined applying for aid. So I was one of these students that said I wasn't going to get aid. I went to our financial aid night when I was in high school. And when I got there, a friend of a friend's mom said, "What are you doing here? You're not going to get financial aid. You're rich." And I went, "We're rich." It's the first time I ever heard that. I got real excited. Went and got some paper towels in the bathroom, pocketed some pizza, and took it home. Spoilers, the fact that I was pocketing pizza probably should have been an indicator that I wasn't rich, but I held on to it real tight, didn't apply for aid. And then when I applied for college, me and my mom had a conversation about me getting some jobs, plural, to pay for it. So instead of applying for aid, I worked 3 jobs while going to college my first quarter. I was at the Swiss Pretzel, the twist you can't resist, but y'all could because it went out of business while I was sitting there. I worked as a sandwich artist, which is code for Subway, and some Payless action with that BOGO going on when it was still in business. So of course, my first quarter, I failed school. I'll be very honest with you. I was working too many hours. I didn't even have time to sleep. I thought that maybe it was me. So I went to the college to drop out, and a financial aid officer said, "Have you applied for aid?" I said, "No, I'm not going to get any. We're rich." I don't know if you know this. I was like, "We're rich." And she sat down with me for 30 minutes, and it completely changed the trajectory of my life. They sat down and walked me through the process. They didn't even sit down the whole time with plan, just walked me through what to do. And they just said, "If you need anything, come get us come off the computer and get us." And I got a full award. I thought that I wasn't going to get aid so much that I actually thought they were joking with me when they sent me that award letter. I thought it was a prank. I thought I was going to get $40, not a full ride. So it's really important for students. Like sometimes they get that messaging from a lot of different places. I took the answer from a friend of a friend's mom and let them have the power in that situation. And I just encourage us. For me, it completely changed what I got to do with my life. I get to do something I love every single day. And that's what I want for our students. I want them to figure out where they are now, what they want to do that they absolutely love, that earns a livable wage, because we know they have to earn a livable wage, and how to get there. And so this is the part I get very excited about, is how to pay for it. So I hope that you'll use me as a resource as you're helping your students with your financial aid. So this upcoming year, we're going to have the class of 2022. I know it feels super futuristic. They're going to complete the 22-23 FAFSA. And then they're going to use their 2020 income information. Now, we know that 2020 was a different year income-wise, and that people may have a decrease in income. And if it's decreased, that's okay. There's a process that'll help them reassess their aid for their current income, but they have to appeal it. So they apply like normal, and then they contact the college and say, "Hey, there's been a job loss or income loss," and they do an appeal process. And there's actually a template that we can walk through that helps students with this. So it's really easy for them to do. So if they're saying, "Oh my gosh, my income's decreased," and I hear this rumor from people that like, I have to wait until the tax year matches the year so that I can go to college. That's not the case. They want to apply now. The financial aid application will open in a mere 45 days, y'all. 45 days, that's what we got. And then it'll be October 1st. So I always tell people, when it gets pumpkin spice and everything nice out there, it's really time to start thinking about financial aid. October is the best month ever. It starts with the application opening and it ends where you can go to a random person's house, say 3 words and get free candy. Best month ever. So just some quick facts there on our system for this, or kind of financial aid for this year. Do you want to go ahead to the next slide? Okay, so I heard some talk about getting parents on board and informing parents. What I found, and when we were working with parents last year, is parents were asking for a separate event for financial aid where they could learn themselves about financial aid away from their students. And so the 12th year campaign, we've decided to offer a parent and caregiver financial aid night. We know that this is a family decision and that there are more people than parents, and there may be other people in that role. So we always want to include caregivers as well to learn about the financial aid process and learn about aid and have a chance to ask questions without students being there. So we want parents to be knowledge keepers as well. And I've had some parents come to me and say, when I find out at the same time as my student, it makes me really anxious because I feel like I'm supposed to know this first. So we're going to give them an opportunity to learn more about it on their own, in addition to some other opportunities where they'll learn about aid.
Christina, the slide went a little wonky. The time isn't actually showing up here and I'm not able to fix it.
That's okay.
Can you just tell folks the date and the time for that?
Yeah, so we're going to do a 5:30 to 6:30, but I also am willing to stay on that call for as long as people have questions. And I just put the link in the chat. So I'll be putting links in the chat for a lot of these resources. And we have room for 500, the more the merrier. I'm happy to also, if we have families and caregivers that want to talk about financial aid, they don't want to come to a financial aid night, but they have some very specific concerns. This is, I'm fine typically like with mixed status families, they can also make appointments with me, and I'll share that information shortly.
Great. And just in case you didn't see the chat, we will be sending these slides out after the meeting today. So you don't feel like you need to write down these links. We're going to send this out so you'll have this.
Yeah, I'm just putting links in the chat because I'm a visual person. I always end up liking to going back through. So the other thing that we're going to offer this year is, and something that we started last year, is we're going to offer virtual financial aid sessions again. So last year was our first year attempting to offer actual events as opposed to just supporting them. And so this year we will have 5 financial aid completion events. These events will have a financial aid 101 presentation. It's about 25 minutes of presentation. So everybody in the room, it's context setting to make sure everyone understands what we're doing that day and understands what they might be eligible for aid. Then we will have assistance in breakout rooms for financial aid applications, so they can get assistance with the FAFSA, the WAFSA. If they've already completed and they want to add more schools, they can do any of those things. Maybe they have an error and they need to get that error fixed. They can come in and get assistance with that as well. We'll also have admissions assistance, and we'll have scholarship search assistance too. So we're trying to look at financial aid. When we look at financial aid, it's not just about one application. It's a whole cycle of us putting these puzzle pieces together to find that funding for a student. So it's going to be those scholarships, and it's going to be financial aid, and it's going to be other types of funding too. And so the more the merrier. All students are welcome to these events statewide. Literally, if they just want to come in and ask questions, or if they want to get help, we're there to help them. And these are all going through our financial advising day period, which we'll talk about in a second. So now there are more than just our events. Our events are the 5 that we've listed, and we will have other follow-up events, but other places are having events too. So we do have a financial aid event doc where you can see who's offering events and when. And so we'll be populating this as schools provide information. A lot of the colleges will offer virtual and in-person events. Right now, they're pretty heavily virtual, but as more events come on, you'll have those listed on there. And it's a great way to forward that out to students so they have opportunities to get assistance. Okay, and then if you're offering your own virtual financial aid event, I had a lot of feedback last year of people who wanted to offer their own virtual events or to do hybrid events where they do part of it in person and part online. And I'm creating a toolkit for y'all. So if you want to host virtual events, these are just the things that we've learned and resources, and this will be available at the end of the month. And I'll make sure that Beth has it for her awesome newsletter, the bulletin, and then if there are resources that are missing from here that you want to see, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to add them on there, but there will be resources and templates to help you create a virtual financial aid night, just so you don't have to recreate anything. So if you're ever looking for a resource for putting on an event, please feel free to reach out to me first, because we may have already created it.
And I think also to reiterate, we really don't want you to create your own financial aid resources. It is complex. There's a lot of detail. And so we really want you to rely on the expertise of our staff who have already developed these toolkits and one-pagers and various resources, so that we are assured that our students and families are receiving that accurate information. It's so much. And so please follow that guidance.
And sorry, I just realized I direct chatted that link, so I'm going to give that link to y'all. Okay, so Financial Aid Advising Day. Financial Aid Advising Day is new. It's newer. This is our 2nd year doing Financial Aid Advising Day. Fad. Although we don't want financial advising to be a fad, we want it to be something that's really intentional. So Financial Advising Day is where it's new. It's part of ESSB 6141, where high schools have to provide financial aid advising. They have to provide notification of financial aid opportunities at the beginning of the school year to parents and students entering the 12th grade. So you may have students that fit into this category, and we have so many resources to help. So you're not going to have to create anything because we've made it all already. So here are some examples of district information requirements. So eligibility for Washington College grant is a big one. It's to really enforce like the understanding that we have the best financial aid opportunities in the nation, in this state, but we don't utilize them. You know, we have the best financial aid packages, but we have the 48th, we're 48th in the nation for financial aid completion. which is so heartbreaking because I know there's students out there who are like me, who are not taking advantage of what's available to them. You also have to provide information about the financial aid applications, the FAFSA and the WAFSA. I've already created you a presentation that has all of these requirements in it so that you just have to provide the presentation as well as other resources. And then the new financial aid calculator that we showed you earlier, because we know that that financial aid calculator, the FAFSA forecaster is no longer available. Federal student aid said they're working on a replacement, but it's going to be a long time before they have one. Personally, I feel like they're probably not going to have something until FAFSA simplification, which is not for another couple of years. So this financial aid calculator is great for Washington State. It has to be during school time, encouraged to have events for filing outside of the school day. So that's why we're doing these events outside of the school day, is to help take that piece and help you with it, because we know that sometimes it's a little harder to do something during the school day and after the school day. And so providing that list to students, making sure they know about all their opportunities in addition to offering your own. And then so many people are already doing the same things. And so I wanted to see, is there anyone here willing to share what they're going to be doing for Financial Advising Day, or how they've started planning for Financial Advising Day? I saw in the chat the message about doing Money Mondays. That's awesome, about like how to pay for school and just understanding just money in general is wonderful for students. Is there other things that people are going to be doing for Financial Advising Day, or have started developing plans that you'd be willing to share?
Christine or Christina.
Hey.
We do a financial day where we just for the seniors and their parents, we invite them from like 8 o'clock in the morning till noon, 1 o'clock. And the kids get to pick what they want for their lunch. So most of them want Chinese. So we have to, our counselor runs over to the Dalles, and which is like 40 minutes away,
Yeah.
and brings some food, and the parents are invited to come, and we all just sit down, and I give them a little presentation, you know, about what they're going to be doing and stuff. But they we also invite the one of the counselors from our local community college comes over, and so then that way we're not in a panic if something comes up we don't know how to do or something like that. But it's usually really successful, and everybody has a good time, and most of them get their FAFSAs done then too. So it's like a financial FAFSA day or something.
Ah, I love it. I love hearing things like this, because I'm like, oh, you can put food together and financial aid, and it's just when you can invite families to come together too. I think that's amazing. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Donna. Any other Financial Advising Day plans that people have started with? And it's, if you haven't started planning yet, it's okay. We have 45 days, but Financial Advising Day, the window for this is September 1st through December 1st. So you need to do these activities within that window. So I encourage planning, and cool thing is you have time to plan today. So I put our website on there for our 12th year campaign resources. And then we have, if you are wanting to know more, and for Financial Aid Advising Day, we have a webinar that we're partnering with OSPI. It'll be me again, but I'll be very excited about it. Just like I always am, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's worth clock hours. And this is where we really get into the nitty gritty about Financial Advising Day and how to implement it. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of do that kickoff. If you have not thought about doing your Financial Advising Days, maybe getting other people involved, so you can invite other people to come to this webinar so everyone can see what is the requirements of Financial Advising Day and the supports that are out there. You always have me and the 12th year campaign to support you as you do this work. Just reach out to me and let me know. I'm happy to help you as you're planning. And I'm going to put a link in the chat for that Wednesday webinar so you guys can see. Okay, so another thing that we're working on is Aim Higher Washington. It's an initiative to really coordinate efforts around financial aid. So we have all these people doing work on financial aid, which warms my heart greatly. But this allows us to really focus and bring everyone's work together and do some collective impact. So we're really focusing to increase opportunities for students of color and other marginalized groups. What I love about this is it really aligns with what we're doing, and it's going to provide some extra resources for you in the form of trainings, and we're also doing strategy sessions. So for these trainings, so our Aim Higher, it's not just WASAC or Gear Up. This is WASAC, as well as the Independent Colleges of Washington, the Council of Presidents, and the Community Technical Colleges. So we have the 2-year colleges, the 4-year colleges, public and private, who are all working together to provide training and resources to increase financial aid opportunities around the state. And our whole goal is to do this around a lens of equity. So we're providing some trainings because we found that trainings is one of the demands that people like, we really need trainings on financial aid. So if you want to learn more about financial aid, we have basics and navigation. Basics is just like the basics. It will help you answer basic questions about financial aid for students. What are the applications? Where can you find them? And just what types of funding they're out there and where do they come from? Financial aid navigation is really so you can learn how to navigate a student through the aid process. We walk through both the FAFSA and the WAFSA, pretty much in a line-by-line style, talk about changes that are coming. It is a good opportunity to refresh your skills as well. So financial aid changes every single year. So if you haven't gone to a training in a couple of years, it's nice to refresh to see what maybe policies have changed or questions that have changed on the application. Good news is, so far I have not heard on any big changes this year for the application. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty similar to last year's, but as we get closer to the release date on October 1st, we may find out if there's any others. You're more than welcome to register anybody who wants to go to this. Anyone who wants to learn about financial aid, please join us for these. It'll be myself and Sam Washington providing these trainings. Okay, so there has been some changes to residency. I know that y'all are going to be excited about this because the residency, and Marcy, you can click through so that we have the whole thing. Before with 1079, students needed to earn a diploma in Washington State, a GED or equivalent in Washington, and live 3 years in Washington immediately before earning that diploma. And this is for students who are typically undocumented, who don't have citizenship. Before earning that diploma, they had to be in school for 3 years beforehand. And then when they graduate, they could be eligible potentially for Washington funding through the WAFSA and state residency for financial purposes and for admissions purposes. They've changed it this year. I'm so excited about this. Now it's earn a diploma and maintain primary residence in Washington for 1 year before starting college. It's just the 1 year. So I know some of y'all have had students that didn't meet that 3 year, and it breaks our hearts. We have students who are like, oh, like I know one of the schools you had a student that it was 3 months. The difference was 3 months and they couldn't get aid. This has changed it to align more with actual Washington residency, which I love, because if you survive one rainy year in Washington, 1 year of like what we've got going on, murder hornets, everything, then you're a Washingtonian. You're one of us. Like we're excited to have you. So it aligns everything perfectly. And I love this because this is going to be something that students can reassess themselves as well for the WAFSA. And so I'm going to put into the chat the link for the WAFSA. This is our new WAFSA website. So the WAFSA used to be on Ready, Set, Grad. Now it's on our WASAC page. The WAFSA website has a questionnaire for students. So if a student doesn't know if they should do the FAFSA or the WAFSA, they can go onto this page, answer a couple questions, and it'll tell them you should do this application or that application, so they can reassess themselves. So if you're working with students who don't believe that they'll be getting aid because of their status, have them assess themselves. We're really fortunate in Washington to have not only the best financial aid, but some really cool residency options as well. Now, I told you that we had just some smidge changes to the residency and with WAFSA. So of course, there's a WAFSA guide to walk students through the application, and also to walk you through the application if you haven't been through it. And so this is the new WAFSA guide. It's updated with the new residency requirements right in there. Okay, and then Collegebound updates. So Collegebound also had, it was really exciting this summer. We had a really good time. Collegebound now has a new auto enrollment. So for students specifically who are FERPL, like who are receiving free or reduced lunch or eligible for free or reduced lunch, they in 7th, 8th, or newly in 9th grade they will actually be automatically enrolled into Collegebound. They're going to be an auto-enrolled student. So they're not going to, so I'm so excited about this because we know how many students who maybe forgot to put an application in, or so they're automatically, and of course, just as in the past, our youth in care, foster youth are going to be automatically enrolled as well through high school graduation. So we'll auto-enroll for all other populations through 7th, 8th, or for the newly eligible in 9th grade. They still have to meet the Collegebound pledge. They have to graduate. They have to get a 2.0 GPA. They can't have any felonies. They need to apply for financial aid. That's a huge one. They have to apply for aid, and they have to be accepted to and attending an eligible college from 1 year from graduation. So they can actually take a gap year, but they want to plan ahead if they're going to do that, because we know gap years can turn into gap decades real quick. So we want to make sure they have a game plan of coming back.
I just want to chime in, Christina. I think one of the most exciting things about this change in legislation is that it frees up time to talk to students and families about the opportunity that Collegebound brings. So instead of chasing paper and spending all of our time trying to get things signed and do that task, all of that time now can be redirected to counseling students. And for us, that's the most exciting part of this shift.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. It feels like it is going to make it a lot easier to have those conversations, especially to say like it's an automatic enrollment. I did see the question here, the Aim Higher partnership webinars. So we're going to record them. And then what's going to happen is if there are significant changes, because we will not have the access to the FAFSA until sometimes it's even like the day before it opens. So as soon as we get access to the FAFSA, we will screenshot that whole new FAFSA, and then I will probably re-record that training so you have access to it with the new slides. But it's going to be, so for this round, those are going to be recorded, and then if there's big changes, we will do another one. But it will not be a live one, it's just going to be a recording. Okay, and then for the Collegebound Scholarship, it combines with other state aid, and it covers the cost of tuition at public rates. So the average cost, so it won't cover like the private school tuition rates, but it's going to cover the highest of the public school rates. So UW, Wazoo, that rate. If they want to go to a private college in Washington State, some of the colleges have a scholarship to cover the difference between the public and private rates. So you want to reach out to the school to see if they have that. It covers some fees and a small book allowance, and that's the Collegebound commitment of funds, and it can be used at over 65 schools at the public-private Washington State schools. So it's funds that have to be used in Washington State. And then for texting, if you have students that need have financial aid questions, this is our kind of a Collegebound OtterBot, like can text questions about financial aid to, and students have been really awesome at using. I know that you guys also have texting through Gear Up. It's been interesting to see how the Collegebound students and what questions have been coming in this summer. There are some students who are real excited about aid. Like I had a student that was like, "Can I apply right now?" And I'm like, "Oh, I wish. You gotta wait till October." Like we will be there October 1st to get you going. And I'm just going to put the link in the chat for that.
Yeah. And just a note about the difference between the Gear Up text campaign that Annie talked about earlier and OtterBot. So OtterBot is an automated texting service. So it's based on artificial intelligence, and it is a pretty smart system, and it's really focused on financial aid specifically. Whereas our Gear Up text campaign is actually Annie responding to text. So it's a real live human. No artificial intelligence involved, real human intelligence. And they can talk to Annie about financial aid and other topics. So if they have questions about college applications, admissions, career and college research opportunities, really just about anything. I think she tells them anything other than nutrition. She's happy to, and dating. We don't talk about dating either. But she's really happy to address a variety of questions and refer them to other resources that we have available. So there are differences, and there's an advantage to encouraging students to sign up for both. And at any time they can opt out. But what we find in our Gear Up text campaign is that students over time do not opt out. They stick with it. And so we believe that means it's helpful to them. So yeah, just a little bit about those differences.
Yeah, and we push out some messaging with Otter as well. So Otter's our little, it's a bot. It's not Annie. I wish wish we had Annie for all texting. But it does answer I mean, students will ask us questions late at night too.
Christina, can I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
Is there, since they've changed from state need grant to the Washington College grant, it's very similar, because the big difference before is college need grant wasn't fully funded. But nowadays there, and I know it's a little nuanced, but people do ask now, like for families, when they get confused, what's this? What are, not to dive into all the details, but is there some snapshot of what the differences are when we talk to families? Or, I mean, I tell them it's generally something they don't need to worry about, but it's got two different names. They wonder, you know.
Okay, so yeah, this is what we have some messaging, but really I just tell them the Washington College grant has replaced the state need grant. It's an improved version of the state need grant. And so really in my brain, I think of it as state need 2.0. It is what I wish that was around when I got state need grant. And so Washington College grant is just it's the same thing. It's just an improved version. So I always tell people, like, if you got state need grant, this is the improved version. This is what your children will be getting, or this is what your, the other students will be receiving. And that it's guaranteed, and the income guidelines are different. That's why that calculator is so important, because people who applied for aid maybe 2 years ago with maybe a previous child and didn't receive aid at a different level may be more eligible now with Washington College grant, because the sliding scale of how much you can make has changed so much. And so it really, the partial grants is a big piece there too. And I have in my resources, I have some Washington College grant messaging stuff that we're putting into a Padlet. So, and I can give you, let me share this link with you.
So Christina, I think that the income guideline for Washington College grant is like a family of 4 that makes $90,000, I think is the right number, is eligible for Washington College grant.
They actually bumped it up.
Generous.
So it bumped up to 102 this year. So if a family of 4 makes under 102,000, they will get some sort of gift aid. They'll be eligible potentially for gift aid. And so that's a huge change. In the last link I put in there, that's our financial aid Padlet. It has, and this is for our volunteers for events, but feel free to use it. It has all the resources on financial aid in one spot that's easy to grab if you've got a bunch of students in front of you. And I'll add some Washington College grant messaging to that as well. I also wanted to add, it does fund more pathways after high school. And I also included the Washington Student Achievement Council's financial aid toolkit. If you go to that website, you will see they have resources on a Google Drive. They have handouts, slideshows, ready-made social media images, toolkits, everything you need to know on WCG. So that's another resource. Like Marcy and Annie and Christina have said, you don't have to spend time creating anything related to financial aid. We have you covered. So just ask.
Also, Beth, can I ask you to take all of the links that are in the chat and put them into the email that we're going to send out afterwards with the PowerPoint? So if you're having a hard time keeping up with all of these links, we can send them all out in a collection. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I have them in a Word doc, Beth. I already have everything in one Word doc for you. Thank you. All right. So this is Beth again. For those of you who are new, or for those of you who may have forgotten me over our virtual world, I deal with professional development and content development, the website, and resource development. So if you are looking for resources for career and college going activities with families, with students, you can always reach out to me. I probably have a resource for you. One of those resources is our scholarship listings. Now, I know you can't really see super great on this slide because it's just a screenshot, but I put the link where you can find the scholarship listings. It's also, so our website, we've been revamping it for the past year, and we did more retooling even this summer. So we do have a student and family section of our website. We have an educator section, which would be you for college access professionals and counselors and other staff. And then we also have one for grant management. In the student section and the educator section, we have this scholarship listing. On that scholarship page, we have Annie's video that she mentioned earlier. That's an informational video on how to search and find scholarships. And then we also have some suggested resources. So there's a couple reputable, highly reputable resources that can help students review their essays and their scholarship applications. One is Get Schooled and the other is Scholarship Junkies from our UW alum, and they provide free feedback to students. We also have listed in these little icons, these like bubble icons, past scholarships. The scholarships that we put in this listing are typically annual scholarships. And so if you are just curious and you want to plan ahead, so you know what big scholarships might be on the horizon, you can look ahead at past listings. We also have lists of reputable search engines and different databases and other sources of scholarship listings. We also have tips and tricks for students. And then there's a new resource that is also very reputable. It's called ScholarSnap, and it helps students save sort of their electronic application information so that they don't, every time they're filling out a scholarship, they can go back and refer to that so they don't have to kind of start from scratch again. And then below that, which you don't see on here, are the listings that are ordered chronologically. The scholarships, we hope to have, I should have all of those updated by the end of this week. And we also do put them in the weekly bulletin as well. So again, they're annual scholarships. We try to note whether citizenship is required or other elements, but yeah, definitely look to that. We also do have an activity I didn't put in here, but I could put in the email. We have a fun activity for students that's a zombie scholarship activity, which you could do at a workshop or an advisory where students walk through and practice reading and scoring scholarships. That way they can understand better how the reviewers are actually determining which scholarships even meet the qualifications. As you know, if you've ever written a grant, you know, some of the best practices scoring other grants. So it's sort of the same with students, so they can see the scoring rubric, and it's based on a real scholarship. So at the end of that, you can have them apply for this zombie apocalypse scholarship, which is due on Halloween every year. So that's just a fun little activity. And then the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is a new resource that I've been working on this summer. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to look at these. I attached these two draft documents in last week's email. They are intended to be a hard copy publication of a trifold. If you've ever looked at our foster youth trifold, it would look similar to that, 8x11 trifold. And we developed two, and these publications are intended for students and families, and really to kind of debunk. The first one is really intended to debunk those financial aid concerns and of like not being eligible, and what's out there, and sort of what does the word financial aid even cover, and what about loans? And then the second one is more on how to apply sorry, and the first one also covers how to apply. The second one is what happens after you apply, and how do you understand your award letter? What if your financial aid circumstances change? What aid is good to select, and how to also keep getting aid throughout college. And we also try to cover how to support students who may have some unique circumstances or who have been historically excluded in the process. So if you're working with unaccompanied homeless youth or youth in care, or other populations, we have resources on financial aid to really help support them. And so I sent those out. Those were drafts that I sent out. I do know that there's a couple language edits I need to make around Collegebound and double check the residency, those new legislative pieces that have come into play. So I want to make sure our language is consistent. But I did want to take, we have some time. I did want to take a few minutes to see if anyone had a chance to look them over and what their impressions were. I want to make something that would be useful to students and families. If you have comments or feedback or questions, maybe either unmute yourself or type them in the chat box. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on these two documents. Does it seem like something that is needed, would be used? These are not translated yet, but I think we are interested in the idea of getting them translated. Yes. Thank you, Faith. I saw your comments and I'm definitely going to be taking them into account. Okay, yes. Yeah. Are there things that you think are missing? I didn't want them to be super text heavy. So in a lot of ways, I'm trying to just demystify a point and then send them to the appropriate resource. Because originally it was just like so content heavy and confusing, and I wanted to keep it simple. And the size, I think I want to test it out when the size of the font and everything. I would like to test out when it's printed. I think it will look much larger than what the mock-up looks like, because I made sure that the font was like 12 to 14 at a minimum. Yeah, it's a balancing act of putting too much or too little information. But I don't know if there's any other areas that you see that are like a serious oversight that I missed, but I just really wanted to get them on like next steps after you get your award. Like, what are you going to do? Here's what the process looks like. Just all kind of a high level overview.
So Beth, for those folks that haven't had a chance to look at them yet, how much more time do you have before you need to finish these up so we can get them printed in September?
I would like to get them finished this week so that we could place the order, and then also make sure that we can put in orders for translations.
Yeah. So if folks haven't had a chance to look at it, if they send you feedback by Friday, then you'd have enough time for turnaround?
Yes, I think that would be helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah, you could still definitely order more, but we just wanted to initially do the debunking, and here's all of these things, and we wanted to make sure we covered loans, because loans are confusing. Loans are part of financial aid. We serve cohort students. Some are middle class, and middle class might not get the best package and might have to take out loans. And how do you do that? How do you borrow smartly? And so we just wanted to make sure we are covering everything. And then again, here's what happens after. And there's all this whole process. And then award letters can be confusing. And so we wanted to make sure that we covered what happens in the spring and summer after you do all this. And I also want to point out that on the first one, I did make sure that, you know, we spent a lot of time, even today, talking about financial aid, but we have to make sure students actually understand that they have to apply to a post-secondary pathway first and then do financial aid. So we haven't really been talking about the college application process, but I put a reminder in there, like, this is all important, but you actually have to apply to college or whatever your pathway is first.
And I want to clarify real quick. They have to apply, but they don't have to apply for admissions before they apply for aid. They can do both of them at the same time. They can do both the applications at the same time. So they don't want to wait to do their aid while they're waiting to put in an application, because
yeah, that's, I guess, what I'm saying is I think that some students think that they will wait to see what aid they get before they apply. And it's important that this is done concurrently or, you know.
In order to award a student financial aid, a college has to have the admissions application and the financial aid application, and they dance off into the sunset and make an award letter. That's how it works.
For Rosalie, for the LGBTQ plus area, we have for different populations on our website in the student section and also in the educator section, we do cover different elements of financial aid and admissions around youth with unique circumstances. So LGBTQ plus is included in that, in helping them assess the friendliness of a campus and things like that. But in regards to financial aid, part of it is that if a student identifies as trans or non-binary, you know, there's information around using what kind of legal name and naming conventions and gender assigned at birth versus what's on their official records and all of that. So there's some resources around clarification for students when they're doing those applications. And then also, I just, not to be gloomy, but there's a huge overlap between youth who are in foster care, youth who are unaccompanied homeless youth, and LGBTQ plus. 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ plus. So there's a huge overlap. So you'd want to be mindful of these, the intersectionality of all of these populations. Yeah, and there are definitely a lot of scholarships as well that are geared for these students.
And if you have a student who's struggling in the financial aid process, who has recently changed their name or in the process of changing their name, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do a one-on-one appointment to help them with the application. This year, the financial aid application will still just be 2 genders. There will be no non-binary gender option at this point. And so, unfortunately, that is a challenging situation for students to be in.
Just to add just a little bit about that. One of the things that we've noticed in our data is that we have students who are changing their names in their student enrollment record over time. And there is a disadvantage to students being enrolled in your school with a name other than their legal name. And so there will be matching issues with Collegebound, potentially with financial aid, that will come up when your students have something other than their legal name in their records. So if that's something you have any influence over, you might talk to students about the importance of that official record being their legal name, so that all the pieces like transcript records and admissions records all line up. And Christina probably has better advice than I do about that, but I just wanted to mention that because we are noticing an increase in those discrepancies in our data.
I would want to look into how to maybe have that conversation. That is a emotionally loaded conversation for students. And so I would pause and look at the situation and see and look at maybe strategies on how we're dealing with that. So
One best practice we have for financial aid events is to make sure you have one office space at least open that a student could go to that's separated from a large group, because students are talking about very private things in financial aid, family statuses, things like that. So having a space for them to go to so they're not processing things in front of their peers is really important, and being mindful of that.
thank you, Christina. Yeah, I do think that's important, because whether it's about the mixed status of their family or trying to determine if they are considered homeless for college purposes, or their income level. I mean, even just asking your parents what their income level can be a loaded question. So all of these things that we're talking about are very sensitive and can be emotional for students. And so we just want to be mindful of how we have these conversations. And next we have, and I'm sorry, just one second. Yes, thanks, Stacy. Yeah, misgendering, yeah, or dead naming can be using a student's name that was assigned at birth can be really emotionally triggering for some people. And so I just want to be mindful of, is it even needed? I mean, can we handle the extra paperwork or the extra work and not have the onus be on the student? I mean, the student definitely has to use the appropriate name on FAFSA. You have to use like your legal name and what is your legally assigned gender on your official birth record, unless they've gone through the process. We do have resources on how students can change their name or gender, and that's in the student and in the educator section for students who are looking for that information. And again, around the college application process and things like that, and about housing and things like that. So yes, there's a lot of, our work is personal, and we just want to try to be as mindful as possible. And on that note, on always learning more and growing and improving our practices, we have this opportunity from NCEP. Marcy's going to talk about it, but it's our advocacy organization, and they have developed a lot of online courses. So I'll let Marcy share that information.
Okay, so quite a few of you included NCEP courses in your work plan to support either your own continued professional development or that of other staff in your building. And so we're really happy to see that interest. And Study Lab, you might remember, many of you took 3 or 4 classes when we first went remote, and we had really strong feedback in support of those courses. And so we wanted to continue to offer that. So Study Lab has grown tremendously. So there are a lot more courses than there were even a year ago. And the variety has definitely expanded as well. So we want to continue to make that available. Also, little added bonus, they throw in some match when you take a course. And so that's handy dandy. And so what I really want you to get from this part of our presentation today is that if you have study lab courses in your work plan, we have a really specific process we need you to follow. So if you were to go register for the course, it's going to be a few $100s. But because we are NCEP members, we can get the courses for maybe $70 instead. So it's going to save us a lot of money. So that's why this is important, because then it's more money for students and not for ProDev. So if you have those courses, you're going to go review those courses, and Beth will be putting this information in the bulletin and in the follow-up email so you know where to look. When you find a course that you want to take, you're going to contact Beth via email and say, hey, will you sign me up for this course? Here's the name of it. Beth will go ahead and get you registered, and you'll be enrolled, and you'll get an email with the information about how to take the courses. And then as a reminder, typically a course takes somewhere between 4 and 6 hours to complete. And then the match will be sent to WASAC because we registered you, but we will credit you in your budget worksheet with that match. So you will still get the match for the course. And then it will be up to you to schedule the time to complete it. And you don't get the match until you complete the course. So that's really important. And we don't want to pay for courses that aren't complete. So we do really want you to take the time to plan for these. But please follow this process. If you register yourself and don't follow the rules and end up paying a few $100s for it, we probably won't reimburse you because you didn't follow the directions. So let's work on saving some money here and making sure you follow. And again, Beth will put these reminders in the bulletin, and you'll have this PowerPoint to refer to. But again, really excited and looking forward to hearing about what you learned through Study Lab courses. Am I doing this one, Beth, or are you?
Sorry. And we have our annual Gear Up West conference. This year, it is going to be held for the first time in Montana. We are super excited for it. The dates are October 17th through the 19th. As of yet, registration hasn't been open. So we will be sharing that information as soon as possible. Those people who had included attendance in their work plan and budget are able to attend. We are hoping that sessions will be recorded so that we can share these in person. As far as we know, this is still being held in person. If anything changes as far as like the fun Delta variant fun times that we're all experiencing, we will definitely let you know. As I see a question from Aaron, is there still a 2-person limit? Marcy, you might be able to, there is a 2-person limit.
Yes, still a 2-person limit.
So right now I don't have more information on, you know, like a conference schedule at a glance or promotional materials. Right now, I don't have that along with the registration. I am because Montana is working on, as the lead on this. And so my understanding is that we should be getting information in the next couple of weeks, and I will be sure to share it out with you so you can keep it on your radar. But we are excited to see Montana and hear from presenters that haven't typically presented at our conference. So I hope to see you there. And next we have a couple.
I just wanted to answer a question. I saw a question about, can we get clock hours for NCEP classes? And unfortunately, the answer is no, we're not going to do that. It's a lot of work for 1 or 2 people to get clock hours. So we decided we're not going to pursue clock hours for NCEP courses for now. We have told NCEP that there is a high value on clock hours in Washington. And so we've talked to them about them being able to possibly get clock hours for those courses. So if that evolves, we will definitely let you know.
Let's see, some other events that are coming up that, and again, we'll send this out so you don't have to spend time writing this down or anything. These events, again, will be in the bulletin, but something to just keep in mind. The Fall Counselor Workshop, which is hosted by WISHER, or the Washington Council, they typically have been in person, but because of COVID and travel restrictions, they are doing virtual workshops this year. They have 3 different dates that you can choose from. These workshops, if you've never attended, it's a great workshop. It would typically be from like 8 till 2, I think. And the time might be shorter because it's virtual, but you'll hear updates from OSPI, from our agency about financial aid, and also from colleges about their new programs and what they have to offer and changes. And it's just a super helpful informational workshop. And you also get a PDF of a book, a hard copy or a PDF of a book that has tons of deadlines and school profiles and very, very useful information if you are working with students who are applying to college. So I would encourage you to go to that workshop. The next one is a NACAC Virtual College Fair. And then there's PNACAC College Fairs as well. The PNACAC College Fair is currently scheduled to be in person in Seattle. And I have links for those. I will share out so you can learn more about that. Yeah, the WISHER book is like gold. You want that WISHER book, that Fall Counselor book. And then next, one other thing that is coming up this fall is our National Gear Up Week. We have the dates for that. That's September 20th through the 24th. And if you need help planning, we do have a toolkit and it's on our website. It has a variety of activities, whether you do them in person or virtually. And we've tried to include new and improved activities that if you've been doing this for years, you know, try to change it up a little bit. So check that out. And we also will share the governor's proclamation when we get that as well. So that's coming up. Think about how you can use that and maybe tie in some other activities into it. And yeah, check out the toolkit.
Yeah, and I would just say all of you have at least one activity in your work plan for year 5 related to National Gear Up Week. And so if you said you were going to do College Jeopardy and you decide, no, I'm going to do something else because Beth added this really cool idea in the new toolkit, it's okay to change that activity and you can just let Kelly know. You don't need to let me know or Beth know. Just let Kelly know, hey, we're going to do a scavenger hunt instead of Jeopardy. And then Kelly can make that update and know what to look for in the portal. So we'll make that a really simple process because I think the toolkit came out right about the time you all were doing your plans. So you might not have had time to review it. And thanks to Beth for keeping that updated with new ideas every year. I think this is me then. So thank you, Christina and Beth. And I know that was a lot of information, and I hope that what you get out of that is that we are here to help you every step of the way with financial aid and scholarships and all of that process. And for cohort folks, this might be brand new to you, right? If you weren't with us in the last grant cycle. And so we will continue to provide training and workshops, webinars about financial aid details. And Christina has lots of stuff available. So thank you both for contributing to that part of our training today. I really appreciate it. And we're doing really great on time, which is exciting for me because as I said earlier, we want a lot of this time today to be for you with your teams so you can really think about year 5 implementation. And so, you know, we go through that planning process in May and June, we get the contracts out, and then August hits and it's reality time and starting to plan for, okay, how are we going to make all of this happen? And so one of the tools that we have for you is what we call the RACI. And so RACI, for those of you new to that project planning tool, means responsible. So who's going to make sure it happens? Accountable, which means we always joke in our office, who's going to go to jail if it doesn't get done? C is for consulted. So who do we need to talk to about it? Who might have more information for us to help us be successful in this task? And then I is informed. So who needs to know about it because it might be part of their work. A great example for that is maybe you have a building admin support person who puts stuff on the calendar for you. And so you're going to make sure that they're informed so things get on the calendar. So we're going to give you a good chunk of time until 12:45 today. Is that the right time, Beth? Will you nod? Yes. Okay. So 12:45 to work with your teams on this. And so what you want to have to do this is the RACI that we've sent out to you previously in an email. You'll want to have your year 5 work plan. Hopefully you have the final version. If you don't, you can message me and I can email that out to you during this time. And then you're going to go through the activities that are in your work plan and put them into the RACI. So remember, only the activities that are in that final work plan need to be part of your RACI. There are lots of preloaded things in your RACI to help you when you do the reverse. But now that your work plan is final, you just need to focus on those things. And you're going to talk about in your teams who is responsible, who is accountable, who's going to be consulted, who else do you need to draw in to make sure that you're successful with these activities and they're fully implemented as intended. Who do you need to inform? So who are all the people on your team to help you make year 5 implementation successful? And so then you probably are going to leave today with some more details that still need to be worked out. And so taking notes about those things and who will make sure that those additional tasks are completed. So with that, we have a process we're going to use that we hope will go really well. So some of you said, hey, we're still meeting virtually. We're not all going to be in our building in person. And so we need a breakout room to go to. So we've created breakout rooms that will be available. So if your team is meeting virtually today, we're going to have a breakout room for you to join in just a couple of minutes. Okay. So you can meet in a breakout room with just your team. And that's part of why we had you name yourselves the way we did today. So we can sort you easily. If you're in person and you don't need to go to a breakout room, totally fine. The breakout room's there, just ignore it. You don't need to join it. We will ask that you take a break when you need to during this team time, since we haven't had a break yet, and I know I'm about ready for one. So take care of yourselves. You have really close to 2 hours for this task, which should be a really sufficient amount of time to get through maybe even all of this work. And so a little bit of guidance. I'm going to join a room called the WASAC room. And so I will be available for this full 2 hours if you have questions. So if you want to ask a question, you're going to leave your room and come join the WASAC room. So don't leave the meeting, but leave your room. If you are meeting in person, you're going to be able to still join the WASAC room. And then Amy and Beth will stay in this main room in case you have questions and you come back and just need help navigating. So we'll be here. But if you are staying in this room because you're meeting in person, you'll want to turn off your camera and make sure you're muted so you can just meet privately. Beth, did I get all that right?
Yes. And they
For
should
me.
feel free to take their lunch too during this time.
Yeah. All right. And then Beth, can you do this slide? Just cover this a little bit.
Well,
oh, that's the wrong one. Never mind.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
So this is where
okay.
Amy should open the breakout rooms so that you should be able to see your school breakout room and select it, and you should be able to join.
Does anyone have any questions before we do that? This is kind of a different way to do a meeting, so hopefully it's clear as mud. All right, well, enjoy your breakout time. We'll see you in a while, and we're going to report out when you get back. Or have a plan for reporting out. That's probably better.
If you're having difficulty joining a room, please type in the chat box, let us know. We could move you.
I'll type in the chat box. Okay.
Thanks, Sam.
I'm not seeing the join a breakout room screen. Amy's sorting people out to the breakout room, or are we supposed to see a box that says join?
You should see a box at the bottom of your page.
I don't.
It looks like kind of a 4-square situation.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I selected the option for everyone to choose the breakout rooms, and I opened them all. So I'm not quite sure what the problem is.
A large number of people have.
We do not see a breakout room for Willapa Valley. Did you want us to join somebody else?
We can start moving people.
Could you add one to Willapa Valley?
Yes, we'll get you a room.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't have the box.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
Marcy, if you click on more down by your little icon by reactions,
yep,
it'll then say join a breakout room, and you
yep.
can.
So for whatever reason, it's not showing up like it did yesterday. So yeah, thanks, Buffy. So for those of you that haven't been able to find your room yet, if you click more, the 3 little dots on the same bar as mute video participants chat, then there's a join breakout room, and then the breakout rooms show up.
And I'm manually moving people as I see them in the unassigned category. So if you see yourself move, it just means I put you in your breakout room.
Beth, are you able to add a room for, or Christina or Amy, are you able to add a room for Willapa because it is missing from the list?
I see that it's missing from the list, and I don't think we can. However, we can find out who is not using a room and put them into that room.
It's okay, Beth. I'll go ahead and start a Zoom meeting really quick and send the link out to Jim and Megan, and we can do it that way. I can do it.
I'm sorry about that.
South Bend says they're not using theirs.
Who?
South Bend is meeting in person.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, let's join South Bend then.
Okay, we'll move you to South Bend. Thank you for your flexibility.
Thank you.
So is Blaine. We're meeting in person.
Okay, thanks you.
Scott. I'm gonna just hold and am I okay to go ahead and join the WASAC room? Are you guys good?
Yeah.
It looks like
Yeah.
Nacelle also needs a room, so it sounds like you can join the Blaine room if you're in Nacelle.
Nacelle has a room and people are in it.
Oh,
Yeah, Edie and Andrea are in the Nacelle room.
okay, Justin.
I just put the rest of the Nacelle people in
Justin,
there.
Okay.
Justin's in there now too.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I threw them in there.
All right, I have someone in my, oh, nope, he left.
Marcy, why don't you go and then we'll
Okay.
handle anything else.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break.
All right. Well, then I'm just gonna assume that these others are meeting in person or.
Yeah, I'm not seeing for Rogers and Shadle Park, I'm not seeing breakout rooms or Squalicum. Are you seeing any there?
Well, Squalicum would be Bellingham.
Okay.
And then the shade and Spokane just has its own.
I don't
Okay.
have access to get to a room, Marcy, or not Marcy, sorry, Beth. I don't think any of the Shadle people do because we're all still here.
Okay, let me, I'm gonna put you guys in Spokane. Hold on one second. I'm manually putting you in there.
Thanks, Christina.
No problem. Okay,
Thanks for your help, Christina.
no
I'm not
problem.
I'm not sure why they didn't get the message like yesterday. I had the same
A large number did.
get the message.
Yeah, a large number already were in before we even had the conversation about moving people. So I would say about half. So I think it's just like a technology or user knowledge situation.
Hi, Casey.
Hi, guys. Hey, we're having trouble finding our RACI in our emails. Is there anybody who could send it to one of us again?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'll drop my email in the chat. You probably have it, but just to make life easy for you.
Okay.
They upgraded us to a new server, a new email program, and we're all totally lost. So it's probably there. We just can't find it.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it. By the way, you rocked that whole section you did, Beth. Thank you for what you said.
Oh, yeah. Well, it got a little dicey. Like I was a little scared that we were going to go down a rabbit hole. So thank you.
Sometimes rabbit holes, yeah, can happen, but
yeah.
Okay, I'm going back to my room. Thank you.
Okay. Amy?
Yeah.
Can you pause the recording?
Time. I hope, yeah.
Marcy, would you mind getting a little closer to your computer?
Thank you for that reminder. I'm having a little sound trouble.
Thank
you.
You.
To see the big face. Is that better? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Beth. We will share the notes so everyone can see what was shared during that session, and we'll compile those and get those out to you. But I know I found the information that was shared was really helpful just to kind of set the tone for the year and see where we all are. So thank you again for that. So now we're going to close out the day with some of those basic things you just need to know to get the year started. I'll I think I'm doing this section. So portal updates. I know not all of you are portal users, and some of you should be really grateful for that. But for those portal users and coordinators, we want to give you just some date reminders. And also we've shifted the dates a little bit this year. So September 15th will be your absolute last day to enter any participation for year 4. So remember, year 4 ends August 31st, but you will have until September 15th to finish up your portal entries for the year.
Marcy, would you mind sharing your screen again?
Oh, I thought I was. Sorry. Thank you. Is that working? Did it work?
Yep, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good. I have 3 screens open, so if y'all are wondering what I'm looking at, it's it's because I have 3 screens open right now. So as I said, September 15th is that last day for year 4 portal entries, and Kelly will be working with you to make sure you get that all cleaned up and completed. Portal year 5, so 21-22 year. We actually shifted this so that portal year 5 opened August 1st and will close next August 31st. So that gives us a 13-month calendar. So that's a little bit different. So for those of you that were having August events and thought you needed to enter them in year 4, we fixed that. So now a year 5 August event can be in year 5 portal. That sounds really confusing when I say it out loud. So if you have questions about that, please be sure to just follow up with Kelly about how to do those entries. And also as a reminder, while the portal is open, you may not have students in there yet and probably don't. So we won't have students in our portal until your high school reports to CEDARS for the first time. So if you have any influence over when those CEDARS reports start going in, that will help. And as soon as OSPI has your students, then we start getting your students. Kelly is also wrapping up final compliance reviews. And so she will be sending out a final compliance review to you by sometime in the next couple of weeks. I'm sorry, I just messed up. Let me start that sentence over. She's going to send you a final compliance review by September 24th. So all those entries will be complete for year 4 by September 15th. She'll do one more compliance review, send that out to you no later than September 24th. I'm guessing she'll get it to you sooner than that. And then you'll have until September 30th to resolve any final issues for year 4 and clean that up. So we think things are in really good shape right now in the portal. So we're not expecting a lot of work to need to be done in that area. Recently, Kelly sent out all of the district contacts that we have in our distribution roster and asked coordinators to review that and make corrections and send that back to her. So if you can please add anyone that should be added to our distribution list, tell her who to delete, or make any corrections if we have errors in names or assignments or emails. Please make sure the coordinators are sending that information back to her as soon as possible. But by Friday would be super helpful. Things are going wild. Okay. From Buffy, I have some fiscal year-end updates. So this is really important because sometimes this can mean the difference between you getting reimbursed or not getting reimbursed in your district. So just like always, year 4 items must be invoiced and received by August 31st in order to be eligible for year 4 reimbursement. If you have a little bit of year 4 money left and you want to buy some supplies for year 5, Sometimes that's allowable, but it does require my approval. So if you're wanting to buy maybe some office supplies or some student school supplies because you have money left in year 4, please send me an email to get approval for that. We're not going to do any budget revisions, so it needs to be something that you already have in your budget, like program supplies or student school supplies. But if you make those purchases and they weren't in your budget and they're for year 5, they will not be reimbursed. So please be really careful about that. October 29th will be the final due date for year 4 A19s for reimbursement. And you all probably know we don't make any exceptions to that. So we have to have everything by then to be eligible for reimbursement. Year 5, those contracts and that program year starts September 1, really soon, and it'll go again through August 31st. So any invoice that's dated or items that are received on or after September 1, those become a year 5 expense, and they must be in your plan to be eligible for reimbursement. So just use a lot of caution around that to make sure that you're getting everything reimbursed. And then your first year 5 A19 will be due the week of October 25th, and those are the September expenditures. Also, just remember that September payroll is always a year 5 expense. So no matter what the time was for, September payroll is in your new year. All right, Beth.
Hello again. I wanted to just draw attention to some new resources. Like I said, we've been really working on revising our website over the past year. And as I said before, we have a student and a family section now, as well as the educator section. So you may notice some things look a little bit different. And I've been going through and updating resources. One new resource that I wanted to draw people's attention to, especially after the very unusual year we had last year, is this student alumni webpage template. It's found in the educator section, and I can send out the link, but it's a document that's found in the educator section in the transition tab. And it's an idea for your school in a way to support your recent high school graduates. Not everybody is able to serve graduates. Luckily, with Gear Up, we are. Other schools are not so fortunate. But it does have quite a bit of information for recent graduates, whether they graduated without a solid plan or they are now rethinking their plan. It can help them get back on track, has tips and tricks and career and college exploration, resources and tools and reminders about financial aid. And so it's a document that outlines a web page that your school could add to your existing website as a way to serve your alum. It's just one more tip or trick to help reach those students who may need some extra support. We also added a college and career exploration tab to the educator section. So the student section had resources around career exploration and pathway exploration, but the educator section did not. So now they mirror each other more closely. And then I also wanted to draw attention, this was something we were unable to post last year, but Annie has, as you know, Annie has done video series for students, and she did one on career and tech prep. And so this video series is hosted on YouTube, and you can find the video link now on our website. Again, I will send all these links out later. And one other resource that will be helpful to you this fall is we will be providing some orientation templates for your school staff and also for students and families. Those are not yet up, but they will be up online within the next week or two. So I will keep you posted on all of those. And I will also, that leads me into our next slide, actually. I will be reminding you of, oh, maybe that is the slide after that. Sorry, I jumped ahead. No.
You don't have any more slides.
I guess I don't. Well, okay. So I'm just going to wing it. So one thing that we plan to do throughout this next academic year is we plan to host webinars in which, oh, it is. Why am I not seeing?
It's the bottom bubble.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I think I might need an afternoon coffee or something. I'm sorry about that. Apologies. Thank you for bearing with me. So one thing we're going to try this year is we are going to be featuring monthly webinars. They're brief, and we're going to be showcasing different resources and tools and some content that's focused on what activities are going to be done typically that month. So like when you look at the work plan or benchmarks, we'll be talking about resources that we have or that we know of that are highly reputable, and sharing them with you so you don't have to try to remember the hundreds of resources that we have compiled in our website. So we're going to be trying to feature these tools and share them with you in a really timely manner. And so that's something that's new and that we're very excited about, and we will keep you posted on that. But I think it will be helpful and you will get a chance to connect with your colleagues. And I think it will help plan your activities and troubleshoot this year. So, and then again, one other thing is that we do still plan to have in-person events as long as things are safe. We'll follow state guidance. And we do have a draft calendar that Marcy sent out. I think she's going to talk about that in a minute. But the in-person events would typically follow our regular schedule that we've had in the past. So in the spring, we would have a workshop, and then in April, we have our planning workshop, and then in August we would meet.
Actually, it's on the calendar for May.
Sorry. And then in August we would meet in Leavenworth again as a whole group. So yeah, we look forward to seeing everyone in person if it's safe, and if not, we will figure it out.
So I just want to double check. The draft calendar, I think, was sent out with the reminder email for this event. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of the moment where you speak now or forever hold your peace. So the calendar was marked draft because we wanted to make sure that at least almost all of it worked for almost everyone. And so if you haven't looked at that, we really need you to do that in the next day or two, and let us know if you see anything that absolutely isn't going to work. We did move year 6 planning from April. We've always done that in April. We did move it to the first week of May. That was unavoidable. That was the only way we could really get everyone there because we have some kind of weird spring breaks going on next year that are really late. So please look at it. And I also want to point out that those monthly webinars that Beth spoke of are all scheduled for Tuesdays, I think at 10 a.m. They're all in that calendar, and the content that we plan for each month is included in the calendar. Those will be absolutely required for you if you're called a Gear Up director, coordinator, or graduation specialist. Everyone else is encouraged to come. But we will be requiring those because we feel like we have a lot of content we need to cover this year. And we think they're going to be really fabulous, and we're going to keep them fairly short, like Beth said, and give you time to network and share. And I'll just say, I know in the breakout group I was in earlier, the need for resources and time together came up as a topic. So we do think this will address some needs that we're hearing from folks. Beth does an amazing job creating a lot of resources, and we think at least some of them are underutilized. So we're hoping that if we can really highlight those, help you navigate and find those, that your lives will be easier actually, rather than harder. But we will be doing those almost every month. So any comments right now about the calendar that we should know, any concerns or anything? I see some chat, I'm just gonna check.
Where was, I wasn't paying it. Where is that calendar located in? Because I just went to the website and it still has like the 2021.
We sent it,
Okay.
I believe we sent it in the email with all the reminders for today.
Okay.
Yeah, we have not posted it yet because it's still in draft form. And if we post it in draft form, people print it and think it's final. So if we don't hear anything from anyone in the next day, I would say by Thursday, we will post it this week as a final version. And so, my reminder, like, please make sure you get all those dates on your calendar. Don't plan family nights when you're supposed to be at an event with us. And we're all going to keep our fingers crossed. Kelly did already sign the contract for Icicle Inn in August next year. So we're really hopeful. And we're looking at probably Wenatchee for May. And then we're looking for college campuses on East Side and West Side for the March events. All right, I'm going to move to the next slide. Match. This is some good news. So the Department of Ed let us apply for a match waiver for a time period that covers COVID. And so of course we applied. And I was really hoping we would have our response back from them by today, but we haven't heard from them yet. But what I've heard, insider source, is that they will be approved, but it's taking some time because there's also a Gear Up grant competition going on right now. So I do think we'll get some relief from match, and it's actually retroactive to the beginning of COVID, and lasts for 2 years. So it goes back to spring of 2020 and goes through sometime next year. So what that means is that we're in really pretty good shape for match. We're a little bit overmatched based on expenses right now. And then we know that we'll have some really good match coming in the future from Collegebound Scholarship and Washington College Grant for our students who are in cohort grades. So your contract right now states that your match requirement is 50% for this year, just as it has been for this grant cycle. I expect that I will be able to decrease that once we get the approval and we close out this year to see where we end in match. So I hope that by November, I can give you an updated match requirement. And so with that, I want to say that we absolutely do not want you to do any overmatching this year. With the waiver, we'll be in pretty good shape. We'll be in really good shape. And so I want you to focus your time on our students and families and not paperwork. So there will be absolutely no need to do any overmatching once we settle on the final percentage for this year. So please keep that in mind. I'm really excited about this. The Gear Up community has fought hard for this. And so in this time where we really want to support students and families as much as possible, I feel relieved that we'll get some match relief. So just stay tuned. As I said, by November, I hope to give you final information about that. Oh, what is overmatching? Well, Carrie, we have some folks in our group that are really high achievers, overachievers, some might say. And so we have a requirement that's $1 of match for every $1 of federal funds that we receive. And so we're able to do some of that at a programmatic level, but we've asked schools to typically match 50% of the grant funds that you get from us to submit 50% of that as match back to us. So 50 cents for every dollar that we give you. We can accumulate as much match toward our overall goal every year. So there's a belief out there that if you submit more than that 50 cents per dollar now, it'll be less you have to do in senior year when we're really busy. So if your match is 50%, there are a lot of schools that do 100% or 75% or 150%, because they know that over time that'll reduce what we have to collect later. It's complicated, I can see. But it just means doing more work than you really are required to do by contract. That's really what it is. And so I'm saying, don't do that. I don't want anyone to do that this year. Yeah. All right. Do you recommend that we start collecting match in September or wait until November? I would say go ahead and collect match in September, but don't kill yourself doing it. Like, do the easy stuff, do the administrator time, collect your administrator match for today, you know, do the easy stuff. But I would say if you get 50% of what you might spend in September, that'll be just fine, or 25%. So make an attempt, but please just don't make it too hard on yourselves, especially as everyone's getting used to coming back and this whole new world we have of being back in the building. All right. Any closing remarks, comments, questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and chime in or drop something in the chat. We just want to make sure that we've covered everything that you were hoping we'd cover today. And from our team as well. I will add, I see a question. Oh, so Adrienne commented that she enjoyed the SEEDS virtual workshops that they did this year and wondering if those will be available. We haven't had an update from them. Those were really good workshops. And so watch the bulletin for that. And Beth, I think you're going to start the bulletin next week. Is that right? So then next week, the bulletin will start up again, which is why we want to make sure all of our contacts are up to date. So yeah, those Annie and I both participated in a few of those, and they were really, really great. It was a little bit of professional development support for the grownups, and then how you can use that information to help support your students. And it was mostly around social emotional learning kinds of things. I also want to let folks know that our team is still working remote. And we expect that we will continue to be remote full time for at least the next several months. Our agency has not put a date on return to the office at all, but most of our conversations are about continuing to work remotely and then coming back into the office in a hybrid model when it is safe to do so. But hopefully you're not noticing that we are all still working from our homes. Hopefully our services have been just efficient and responsive to you. And so if you have any concerns about that, you can certainly let me know. But we feel like we're working well remote. And just for lots of reasons, our agency is seeing this as a long-term solution. Any other comments? Donna, you have to go to Hawaii in May. I'm so sorry to hear that. All right, we'll work on that. Will you send me an email that says that, please?
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to flip it to the slide. We do have an evaluation we're hoping that you will fill out for today. We absolutely appreciate your feedback always, so we can continue to improve, especially in this virtual environment. And I'll just say on behalf of our team, it is again so great to see all of you. I really appreciate you having your cameras on at least for part of the day. And if you didn't, that's okay too, because I have those days. I just want to leave it off. So this was a long time to be together virtually. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for bringing the baby Lisa. Oh, he's so cute. Yeah, just thank you so much for all you're doing on behalf of our students and families. And please continue to take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.